Hello, it's tip demo time. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jean, and today we are going to be, I am going to be demonstrating a different way to do your Hexies rather than the traditional English paper piecing method. And that method that I'm going to be showing you is actually hand piecing your hexagons. So let me welcome a few of you in first before we get started. First of all, I would like to say welcome and thank you for joining the channel, our newest member, Elaine from Three Patches of Time. Thank you very much. It is great to have you as one of the stitching friends. And we have Danielle, dear daughter Danielle, and my moderator here this morning, as well as Vicky Rumsey, also a channel member. And we have Tracy here this morning. Hello, hello, Tracy, who is also one of the channel members. And Letitia is here. Sister Debbie is here. Welcome, welcome to you. And let me see. Oh, excuse me, Agnes. Agnes, you must be home from work. Welcome to you as well. It is great to see you live in the chat this afternoon. And Teresa Louise is here. Carol is here. Um, Tracy Harding, I think I might have already said hello to you. Maybe not. I got a couple Tracys. So with Debbie is here this morning also. Awesome, awesome, awesome to see all of you. And Deb S., the Pug Mama Quilter, is also with us this afternoon. I realize I keep saying this morning. I am so used to being live in the morning instead of the afternoon that I just had that little faux pas of saying that. But um, what I would like to first mention about this method of doing your Hexies is it eliminates the need for the papers, thus saving a few trees, and it also skips the step of basting. So when you start right in joining your templates together, and therefore skipping a few steps, making it, to me, a little bit easier and a little bit faster. It's just another method, and I have been, a few people have requested that I show this method, so that is why I am doing this demo today. But what do you need? First of all, and let me bring in the other camera while we show what it is that you are going to need for this. I have the everything that you need right down here. And first of all, I will show you, this is one of the completed flowers. Of course, just like the grandmother's flower garden, done totally by hand piecing. Looks exactly the same. Almost. You don't have the little stitches that you sometimes see from doing English paper piecing and the papers that are in it with this method. But when you turn it over, look how nice and flat and neat that is. It doesn't even appear that it's pieced together. It looks like it's laying right there, but we have perfect seams going all the way around. And that is our completed flower, which there's another one right here that just shows another little scrappy method of doing it. Looks the same on the back, but that is how your completed flower will look when you are done piecing it all together. And of course, it helps if you start with a pattern. And this just happens to be the pattern that our sample would help to show that too, is made from, only making it a little table topper instead of the entire quilt. And I will pull that from back here and show you just how beautiful you can make these, doing them totally hand pieced. And we will hold that up underneath here as well so that you can see that. And as you see, this one, there is no division between them. each flower is just connected to the other flower. There are several patterns that you can use for your grandmother's flower garden. And what I will share with you, first of all, I will go over, so I can move some of this stuff out of the way, the supplies that you will need. And this is one of the patterns. I will put a disclaimer here. When I first started this method, and I will possibly be missing some of the chat. Sorry if I miss any of you as you come in. I see that Tracy is here. Oh, welcome to you. But if you do have a question as we go along, please tag me by putting the @ sign kept in stitches so it will highlight and I will see it. And there is Vintage Style by Joe. Welcome to you also. So what Debbie says that she has a collection of Hexies someone gave to her. Hand piecing has been challenging for me. Yes, but if you can do all the stitching that you do on the little pieces of paper, it is no different to be able to just hand stitch your seams on these. And I will be showing just how easy that is. But what I was getting at is when I started this, Cindy Blackbird, which I have several of her patterns, and she is the one that originally came out with using stamps for the templates instead of the paper piecing. She is a very well-known hand piecer and teacher of hand piecing. However, and she used to do retreats in the Smoky Mountains. I would just when I was wanting to go to one of her retreats is when she stopped doing the retreats. But she is an awesome teacher, and this is her method that I am using. She is no longer in business though, but other people have since come out with the stamps. So if you do a search, you will be able to find them. But if you do not have a stamp, you can always use whatever type of template that you may have for hexagons. These are just a cheap Sewology set from Hobby Lobby, cost a total of $6.49. You can see the price tag still on there. So you can use whatever that you have for templates for the hexagons. It does not have to be a stamp, but a stamp comes in very handy if you do have those. But I wanted to share with you some of the other patterns that you can do. Any pattern that is English paper piecing, you can do it by hand just by using the templates and piecing them instead, which this is a beautiful carpenter star pattern that I have. You will notice that everything comes included. Well, not, I mean, I put the pen and the needles and the other in here, so I had it all together. But this came pattern and stamp set for it already included in there. One of the other ones that I have is a beautiful mariner's compass. Price tag still on there. How about that? But this is also, I bought it by the set. So it has all the stamps in it as well. And you can tell the ones I've used because a little of the ink has gotten on the corners. But that is how these were purchased. And that was back right around 2009. So that's when I started using this method. But that is another one. And then I also have, and I can't wait to do this one, which I'm not going to be able to get that. Let me put that down a little farther. This is Smoky Mountain Stars. And as you see, it is a feathered star. It is a beautiful, beautiful pattern. I see I have some of the fabrics already in there that I prepared for it. But, and of course, it also has the stamps included in it. You can buy the pattern with or without the stamps back. And then it does come in different sizes, of course, of the Hexies. That's a little miniature one. And then we also have, and this, I believe, could be possibly not. No. And this is another size a little bit smaller than the one using today. And this is the connector that they also have that would use for connecting those together. But the one that we are using today is, which I have the connector also for it, two different sizes there, is of this size, which is a 1 1/4. I also have the template out here to show you that it's interchangeable. All you have to do is take that middle section out. Instead of using the stamp, you will see it is exactly the same size when I lay that on there. You would just be tracing the outside and the inside and then cutting those out instead of stamping them. And I'm also going to show you, of course, what it looks like. Put that over there. When you have stamped that on the back side, of course, of your, whoops, just throw that around, of your fabric. You will have it all stamped out, and then all you have to do is cut those out on that outside line. And just using a VersaCraft, it is for fabric, paper, wood, and more, but it is a fabric type ink. You will heat set that after you have stamped all of yours to heat set the ink, and you are ready to go. That colorway is chocolate. And then in case you have darker fabrics that's not going to show up on, there is one that comes in white, and you would use that on your darker fabrics instead. So you need your ink, your stamp, your fabrics, of course, and you are ready to go, which this, of course, is fabric for my centers. That's why so many on there. And when you stamp them, of course, it's the same as English paper piecing. You're going to need a centerpiece, and you're going to need 6 to go around to make your flower. And I have those. This is what they will look like when they are cut out on that outside line, have them stacked and ready to go. The needles that you are going to be using, let's make sure. So Journey says she's tried piecing with paper, but I still don't know exactly how. Okay, which I don't use the paper, so I just do them by hand piecing. Hey, a stamp. That is cool. I want one of those. Well, I don't think you can get the Cindy Blackbird ones anymore, but they are available from other distributors now. You just have to put in a search and you'll be able to find some. And Mona is here. Welcome to you, Mona. And Mary Tally is here as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ugh, can't talk. But again, if I miss anybody popping in, I'm sorry. But trying to focus more on the demonstration than the chat. And that's why if you have a question, something you want me to see, once again, please put the @ kept in stitches. That will highlight it and it'll pop up and I will see that in the chat. So if I miss something, apologies. But for your needles, you are going to need a Sharps size 10. I like the Richard Hemming and Son large eye needles, which when it says large eye, don't expect that to be a large eye. It's still a small eye, just larger than the normal one if you didn't get the large eye. So that is what you are going to need for needles. You are also going to need patchwork pins for this method. And these are by Clover. Comes in the nice little case, but you will need those. You may or may not need a thimble or a pad for your finger. Every once in a while, the end of that needle might push a little harder and, you feel that poke in your finger. So you may want that. And of course, a little pin cushion comes in handy. This is a homemade one out of wool. Made these one year for a quilt retreat that I was attending. It was a gift for all of those going to the quilt retreat. So cute little one made out of wool. Has a little magnet on the back. So if you have a little kit that you're carrying your stuff in that is metal, you can stick it right on there and it'll stay in place. And then you might need a couple needle threaders. But that is, and of course, a sharp pair of scissors. My favorite are always the Havels. They cut right to the tip, nice and sharp, great for fabric. Any that is your favorite scissors will work for fabric, and you are going to need thread. And let me see, I was going to When it comes to the thread, I'm going to read you exactly what Cindy Blackbird says. She says, I use any type of quilting, hand quilting thread that is wiry. YLI, DMC, Gutermann, Coates and Clark, and Signature. Which Coates and Clark, if you order your stuff from her, is what she always includes and what she had on her site when she had a site. It is no longer there. But so that is what I use. These are still from numbered and whatever when I bought several at the time that I started doing this. So that is all of the supplies that you will need. And I can quickly, and of course, I have this beautiful set. And we have a partial one put together there of fabric squares that I am using for, and they're upside down. There we go. That I am using for all of my flower petals in this. I will be able to get several out of this stack. And I have chosen to do them with, there will be 3 different centers, a yellow, a green, and a pink. And then the petals going around will not be scrappy. They will be all from the same fabric. So that is what you need to keep in mind when you are doing your stamping. And we can show you very quickly when you are stamping, it helps to have something underneath your fabric. And between that, I also put a piece of paper just in case there were to be any bleed through or anything like that. This paper towel is for when you heat set it. You just put that over the top, press it, and it is heat set. But I saved a space there. I'm not going to put the ink on here, but all you do is you ink the outside edges. Every once in a while, you'll end up with a little ink in the middle. It'll get there. Don't worry about it. It's the wrong side of your fabric. It's not going to show, but you just place your stamp down just like you would do anything. I have drawn the little lines. You will see if I hold that up there. I have lines centered on the top, bottom, and the sides. That helps if you are trying to see and tell where those points are when you're lining that up on your fabric. If you're trying to be frugal and save, then you can see right where that is. You know that you have room, and you're just placing it on there. And then you just push down lightly for a few seconds, and when you lift it up, your impression will be on there. Once you have them all on the same fabric piece, then you will let that dry a little while, and then you will heat set it before you cut them all out. So then your next step is going to be cutting everything out in whatever you want to do, cutting it out as you go, cutting them all out before you start. That is totally up to you and your decision. And I was going to show we have just a little bit over half of one done here. And that is how they are put together. You have the seams. And of course, it doesn't look as neat because we don't have anything pressed, and we don't press anything as we go while we were putting this together. We press it all at the end when all 6 petals have been put onto that center piece. So I will set that one off to the side, and we are going to start with a new one. And I am going to go ahead and remove myself so that you will be able to see what I am doing better on the hand piecing here. So you are going to start by taking your center and one of your petals, and you are going to place that right sides together. And I am going to put my symbol on. Hello and welcome, Debbie Williams. It is great to see you. Saw you yesterday in person. It's great to see you in the chat today. But looks like you have been organizing. Me? If you could only see behind me, Mona, I am in the process, yes, of doing a major organizing. But you are going to take, and this is where you are going to need your needle, of course, and thread. You don't want to thread that, longer than about 18 inches. But you are first going to take and you are going to put your needle right through the very corner on there. And if it is right, a lot of times it will line directly up, but you're going to put it on that one right through there. And then you can hold it like this, and you are going to take and stick your needle right through the corner on the back one. And again, having them right sides together. You're going to leave that right there for now, and you are going to pick up your patchwork pin, going the wrong direction. And you are going to stick that in the left side corner. And then you are going to line that up right on the left side corner of the one underneath. Bring them back up so they're all held together here. A lot of times I find it easier because your first stitch that you do over here, when you put this needle in, if you want to do that before you put the pin in over here, you can. Just make sure that you hold everything good. You are going to bring that, of course, all the way through with your knot. You're going to leave about a 1/2 inch tail on your knot. Don't cut that off. It's going to stay there. And you are going to take, coming from the back side to the front, and you want to make sure that you actually hit the line or your seam back there and on the front. Adjust it accordingly if you missed it just a little bit. But the first thing that you are going to do is you are going to take 2 back stitches. So you are going to back stitch that. And sometimes it helps to do that first before trying to put that other pin in on the left side and line them up, because at least you have this side attached and not moving around. So then you can go over and you can put your pin in. Once you have this patchwork pin in there on both corners, what you are going to do is you're going to take your 2 fingers and you're going to hold on to that with that pin coming through on the back side and your thumb on top on this side. And that is going to hold that all lined up for you to be able to start your stitching. So now all you have to do is you're going to take a little running stitch, and you can do that just by moving your fabric back and forth. Take a few, you want to look, make sure that you're on that line on the back. You're going to pull that through, and you're going to see how quickly this comes together. No basting. You're starting right in, sewing, connecting your pieces together. And making sure I'm not missing anything there, that nobody's asked a question. And so we are taking normal little stitches, and we want our last stitch to come, if you have to back just a little, you want it to come right, sorry, get over here. You want it to come right up, right where you have that pin in that last very corner of your fabric pieces holding them together. You're going to bring that up. You can remove that pin now to get it out of your way. Just set it in your pin cushion there because you're going to need it. And you are going to do 2 little back stitches in that corner as well. And you will open that up, and you see there you have them connected together. So the next step, of course, is going to be adding your petal onto this side. So you already did your 2 back stitches there. Reason for that is to hold that in place, because now you're going to go up to the other side. So you are going to clip that and leave your little 1/2 inch tail. Set that down while I make sure and tie another knot into my thread. You don't want to go through without a knot. Just doing a quick quilter's knot on there. If you end up with a little longer than you want, just trim the excess off there. So now we are going to open this up. We are going to pick up the next piece that goes on this side. We're going to make sure that it is right sides together. We're going to line that up as best as we can by hand first. And we are going to come up from the back here, this time with our needle coming up, going right in to that, so that we did both corners just as if we were using the pin the way that we started on the other, going right back down next to that. Sorry, so hard to hold up here and do that at the same time. But you are going to go and you are going to do your 2 back stitches again. And I'm doing that before I put that other pin in there because it's just easier. You can do it however you find. So then you're going to park your needle down there in your pin cushion. You're going to pick up your pin. And again, you're going to stick it right in the corner of the top one, right in the very corner of the back one. Make sure that's all lined up and together. Put your fingers, that pin right through their 2 fingers, your thumb on top, holding that together. And again, you are just going to quickly piece that seam with a running stitch. Do you see how you are totally eliminating the paper, the need of the paper, and the need of basting all of these before you start attaching them together? I find it very nice that there's a method that you can eliminate steps and do something quicker. And again, I'm coming right up. If I can get to the camera, it's hard to see a needle on a camera, but I'm coming right up where I have that pin in that corner to end it. Removing the pin, and again, going to do 2 back stitches right there. Because we are hand piecing, we need to do the back tack, back stitches, whatever you want to call it, that you don't do when you are machine piecing, because of course you are going over your stitches when you're machine piecing. When you're hand stitching, you do not. Now this time, when we open this up, and let me see where we are going to be connecting the bottom to there. So again, we are going to flip our thread here, because we're going to be sewing over here instead, going around our center. Make sure that we tie a knot. So we are going to come over and just make sure, always make sure that we are adding correctly. Yes, okay. So that is flipping over onto our back. This little seam right here is kind of automatically going to want to go that direction and lay flat. If you want to bring this up out of the way like that, so you're sure that you don't catch that in there, you can do that. And again, this time I'm going to go right from the front here in that corner, and I'm going to make sure that I come up right in the corner on the other side. Sometimes you have to play with it a little bit. And if you need to open it up a bit and peek through to be able to find it, you can do that also. So there we have that together. We're going to go through there, back up, And in case you can't tell, I'm having a bad hand day. My hands are bothering me today. And I just grabbed a hold of my knot, but that's okay. We'll pull that back through. And we are going to do those two little back stitches again. And before we go on, now we are going to go ahead, put our needle down, pick up our pin. And sometimes you may think, oh, well, why do we need this pin? Can't we just skip that step? No, that is very important to keep it lined up, because if you just try to use your fingers, you will find it will shift on you. That makes sure that that end is staying right where it needs to go. And then we are going to continue just doing our little running stitch. Always check to make sure on the back side, sorry, that it is also on the line, that they are lined up. Once you get used to that, you'll be able to tell, but it's always still good to peek once in a while and make sure that it's staying on that line on both sides. And again, you want to make sure that your last stitch comes right up in the same hole as your pin. And remove it. And take your two little back stitches. And Debbie says, wow, your stitches are so tiny and uniform. Thank you, Debbie. I've been doing this for a few years. And Vintage Style by Joel says, mine would not look that beautiful. They will over time. Practice, practice, practice. Have had many years of hand stitching. I didn't start out with tiny little stitches and uniform either, so don't worry about that. And Debbie says, such beautiful stitching, and you're having a bad hand day. Yes, I am. OMG, what do they look like when your hands are good? Well, I just don't have as much problem doing it, Debbie. I kind of, yeah, they just aren't cooperating today. I have yeah, just neuropathy in 3 of the fingers on my left hand. And I have, yeah, other problems with it. But anyway, we don't need to go there. But this time you will notice when you open this up, and you're always going to look before you cut your thread, you're going to look and see what's being added next. And this time you don't need to cut it, because you're adding this next one right on this side. So you can just open that up. Your thread's already there, and continue on with that next piece. When you are going to need to clip your thread, you will always be on an outer edge. You can't add anything on to that outer edge, except of course when you are joining your actually completed flower sections together. So you're going to pick up your next one, and again, you're going to line that up by hand. Now I am going to take, and my thread needle is already threaded. So this time I can stick that through, and I can find this. I'm always out of the camera, I'm sorry. I can find that point there. There it is, okay. And I'm going to take, and I'm going to line that up as best I can before I put the pin in there. I'm going to do my 2 little back stitches. If I can get my needle in the right place. I was going to do my nails, but you'll notice when you do hand piecing, you always lose the polish on your thumb on that finger, because the needle keeps scraping it. It's like, why bother? The needle is just going to remove it anyway. So now I want to put my needle down. I want to get my pin, Stick it in that left hand corner. And stick it in the other left hand corner on the back. Put that together. Hold that so that it holds everything lined up. Make sure that pin is straight through when you do that, not in an angle. And now we're just going to do our running stitches down this side. And when we get to the end of it this time, we know we're out on an outer edge, so we will be cutting our thread. And you want to always open it up and see how that next petal is laying, because you may be tempted once in a while to sew it to your middle section before it's really time to sew it to that middle section. And it's not as easy to remove stitching when you are hand piecing as it is with machine, because you have to worry about where you actually ended and have a knot in your hand piecing. Removing that, doing our 2 little back stitches. Get the thread out of the way. When you're doing those back stitches, you're still making sure that you come up right in that corner. That's what's holding all those seam allowances together. I always make sure that the minute I cut my thread is when I knot it again, then I know that, yes, I did put a knot in that end before I pick it up and go on to sew and find out that I don't have it. A little better at the end there. I'm going to lay that down, and now we open this up. We take a look and see we're almost halfway done already with a completed flower. And this is where, when you look at that, you see, okay, where are we? We can't add on anything over here yet because it's not attached to the middle on this one yet. So that's how you kind of always know where you are. So this time you're going to, again, swing that over. That's where this kind of automatically just lays flat. Pull that up out of the way to make sure it doesn't get in your way. And you just continue on, putting your needle right in that corner, right in the other corner, and you're ready to go on. And I am going to set this one down because I think I am farther along on the other one. I'm going to look at our time first of all, because I would like to get to the point to where it shows what you do on that final one, how you are attaching it, which it's going to be basically the same as if you were doing your paper piecing. We're going to stick our pin in here. Oopsie. We're going to attempt to stick our pin in there. And in the other corner. Line that up. Hold the pin. And do our running stitch. Which if you hold your other finger on the back side here, you can kind of use that. And just pretend it's your little sewing machine. It's what's moving the needle up and down through both layers of the fabric. And you're always tugging to make sure that those stitches aren't gathered and that they are nice and flat. Because as you pull it, it will draw it just a little. So that's why I'm always going in and pulling it up before I go on to the next stitching, so I know that all those stitches are flat and none of them are gathered. Coming up right where that pin is again. This is why it's nice to have a little pin cushion right by you, because you can Otherwise, it's easy to misplace your needle and your pin as you're taking them in and out. And you especially don't want to do that if you happen to have dogs in your area or pets of any kind. Now you can see I'm at one of the ones that's not on the outer edge, so I don't have to cut my thread this time because I'm going to be adding this piece right here. So you're going to pick that up, except I'm just going to get it attached so that I know where I'm leaving off, and then I'm going to pick the other one up that I have further along instead of doing all the repetition, so we can get to the end and show you how we complete the flower. I just don't like to leave not knowing where I left off. So if I have this started, I know right where to pick it up and continue on when I get back to it. So we moved a little bit there. That happens once in a while. Back on your line, Jean. There we go. I'm just going to do my back stitch. I'm not going to put the pin in there because if I lay that down, that'll be in the way. I'm just going to stick my needle in there, but up, just sticking it there. Those aren't my stitches, just sticking it there. So it is there. I'm going to lay that out of the way with the other petals that go with it. And we're going to pull this one over instead. And we are going to see where we left off with it. And we are ready to attach that right here. And I just happen to have another needle threaded and ready to go. I usually have about 4 or 5 needles. I thread them ahead of time so I don't have to stop and keep threading needles as I go. Makes it a lot quicker and easier also. Make sure I get right in that corner. And you want to make sure you're not catching that fold. You see all those seams coming together. You want to make sure that when you stick your needle through there, that it is through there, that it's not catching any fold in that seam allowance, because then you'll end up with a puckered seam and you don't want that. So we are just continuing around on here. And evidently Mike must have popped in. Welcome, welcome, Mike. Mike's been a little bit of an enabler again today. Oh, I'm just going to blame it on him, whether it's his fault or not. But he'll accept it. Let's just say that. But yeah, going on both ends of the spectrum of quilting, from traditional to modern, all in the same day. And you notice I forgot to put my pin in, so I'm going to make sure that I do that very quickly before I go on, so that things do not shift on me. And when I get down to this corner, it not line up, which can happen very, very easily. So again, you just slip that pin right between your fingers. There, I know it's hard to see that it's there. We try and get it, but it is there, holding it. And thumb holding on top. And now I can continue on. Whoops, and I pulled all my stitches out. See, hand problems today. Aggravating. But it's okay. You can see it's still doable. I'm having a bad hand day, and it's still coming out just fine. That's called motor memory. I've done it so many times and so often that it's all right. We make it work. We just got my thread over there on the wrong side of that. And we want to always make sure that our last stitch comes right up. You're almost trying to sew right through that pin because you're coming right up in the very same hole that you stuck your pin through. And once we have the thread up, we can take that pin out, do our 2 little back stitches. And I already, well, maybe not. Sometimes you can fool yourself. You think you're seeing what you're seeing, and until you open it up, you're not exactly sure of where you are. At least I'm not. So before you cut that thread, always open it up, see where you are. And I'm going to be adding this one. It's on the inside corner, so I don't have to cut my thread. I'm going to get it out of the way. You're going to pick up your other flower petal, and you are going to line that up. And that's where this is also going to lay over that direction, out of the way, your seam allowance. You do not press any of your seams as you go until the end. Let's stick that right in the corner. Make sure it comes right in the corner on the back side, not catching any of the fabric in between. Back up close to that. Don't have your finger over your line so you can't see it. Oh, that always makes a difference also. And this fabric happens to be some that I got off Amazon, and it does have just a little bit of a sheen to it, which makes it a little slippery on the right side of the fabric. And that's why it slides just a little bit, but I'm aware of that and making sure that I'm keeping that from sliding out of place as I'm going. Which if I wasn't using this pin, that is one time that you would find that, yes, you would have some movement on there. And again, coming right through the corner. Oh, that was a little hard to see. It happened to be right on one of the red little berry things of the flower there. We're going to stitch that very quickly. I don't think, yeah, no, I don't have one. We're going to skip over and I'm going to show you what happens when you get to the end. Mike's going to jump off the boat. Oh, no. Hope you've had your swimming lessons. Mike says that he is my best enabler. So with Debbie says, thank you, Jean. Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us, Debbie. You may already be gone. I'm sorry, but thank you. Danielle agrees that Mike is an enabler. And Mike says that I am very impressionable. And Maritza is here. Welcome to you, Maritza. And Vicky says, Jean, why don't you tie a knot? I have been tying a knot, Vicky. That's what the back stitch is. Until I come to the end and have to cut the thread, that's when I have to tie a new knot. I am knotting at the end. I don't knot in the middle of my stitching. I knot at the end of every seam by doing the back stitch. 2 back stitches. That is the same as knotting on the end. When I have to cut the thread, which I will be doing on this one because it's going to be on an outside edge, that is when I do a knot before cutting my thread, add another knot at the end of the thread before I put my stitch in. So I am knotting my thread all the way through the project. always doing a back stitch before it. That is what is the knot. A back stitch is a knot. Where I do this back stitch, that is the same as if you were doing a knot. That is making a knot by doing the 2 little back stitches. Makes it so that thread will not come out. So that those 2 back stitches were just my knot there. And you cut it, leaving a 1/2 inch tail so that it's not going to pull as easily through. And now I am again knotting my thread before I go on. Remember, when you have a question, put the @ symbol sign before Captain Stitches. That will highlight it so I see your question and don't miss anyone's questions. You are welcome, Vicki. And again, we open that up, see where we are, which, no, I was there. Okay. So now we are going to be attaching this end to our middle. And I am going to save time, I am going to stick a pin in that so that I can show you how we continue on. We're going to pretend like that one is already sewn. When we open, now we are going to have the last one that is going to be inserted in our thing. So we are going to be sewing to this edge. We're going to flop that over the same way that we did the other ones. We would have all these corners coming together. We would be doing we would not be cutting our thread at that one because we're going to end up with our thread right down there because it's the inside corner, not an outside one. I'm just lining that up. I'm going to stick another pin in that one, pretend that we just sewed that one, which we would end up over here with our thread. That's where it would be attached. When we open this up, got that and that attached. We're going to flip it, of course. This will automatically flip that other way if it was sewn. Hang on here. Make sure I'm at the right place here. I am. It's just because it's pinned instead of flat, it doesn't want to cooperate as well. But we would be turning this one over here, stitching it down here. And we have another little pin in here, which because there's pins there instead of it sewn, I can't get it exactly lined up because my pin is in the way. Getting a little close corners for pin sewing. Be a lot easier to thread sew that. But we've got that opened up now. These would be attached, and we have that final one that would just come over on here. Our seams would open up if we didn't have the pins in the way. And we would be stitching that one so that when we open them up, now it is all completed and together. And of course, isn't going to look like that where we've got it pinned instead of sewn. But that is then when you will turn it over and you will have all your seams like that. But when you take with your hand and you're just going to push those seams down, the others will kind of automatically turn. So you just press that front one down, press those, do a little bit of finger pressing, and then take it over to your iron and press your seams from the back first. And then if you want to flip it over and give it another little press from the front, and you will end up with your beautiful flower all completed to where I think you can see how this would take you less time. You're eliminating 2 steps by doing it by hand piecing instead of English paper piecing, to where if I had continued on and not doing this as a demonstration, I would have had one whole complete flower done in less than an hour. And it is still completely like I was showing you You're going to have all your pieces cut the same as if you had them for your English paper piecing, except a little bit maybe more exact. So they can all be put stacked together the same way you would if you were using the papers in English paper piecing, and it is totally portable to be able to pick up and take with you wherever you go, the same way as if you were doing it English paper piecing. So there you have it. Completed. Another one showing completed in a different, type of fabric and everything. And again, in case some of you came in late, here is I guess it would help to turn the other camera on to show this. We will bring me back in. I'm just going to replace the spotlight. There I am. But this is completely hand-pieced rather than using the papers. And if you want to see the back, it's just a piece of flannel plain on there yet. It has not been completely hand stitched yet, but it is in the process. But that is how it all turns out. Beautifully done, nice and flat, with eliminating the need for papers or for the basting. So you're eliminating 2 steps in the process by hand piecing it instead. But if you are more comfortable with using the papers, by all means, do whichever method you prefer. But I would give it a try. Give it a try and see what you think about hand piecing it. Because if you say, oh, but I can't hand piece, if you're doing those little stitches connecting all your paper pieces together, it is the same as if you were hand stitching. So give it a try and see if you like it, and then go with whichever method it is that you find that you prefer. There is no wrong or right. We have a quilt squirrel here. Oh my. Just joking. It's like I have, the little pink squirrels that invade the stitching cottage. So when I saw a quilt squirrel, it was like, oh, where? But welcome. Thank you for joining us. And I hope there isn't anything that anyone asked that I did miss. I will go through after this is over and it has a chance to load the chat back up. I will go back over it and make sure that I didn't miss any questions. If there was something I didn't answer, I will leave a comment in the comment section for you. Andrea says, awesome. I enjoyed watching that done by hand. I have the one that my great grandmother made for me over 60 years ago. That is awesome. Which mine's getting close to that age. And I will have made it myself. Oh, that's terrible to have to say, aging myself. And Carol says, thanks, Jean. I am going to try this. Awesome, Carol. And I know you were one that requested the demo, so I hope that it helped you. Oh, and I did also want to mention and show, because when I did get my supplies out, which you see those 2 green containers there, that is what holds all of my supplies for hand piecing and all these patterns and everything that I took out. So I always know where that all is. It's in those 2 containers. But as you see, I have what you would call, oh, and I had one laying over here, I forgot. But I have taught classes in hand piecing with these exact, and these are a little kit all made up that if you were taking a class, it has the little instructions in it. It has your needle and your pin. It has everything already stamped on there that you need. So it has your middle one and your 6 petals that are stamped on there. And everything, that is what you get when you take the hand piecing class from me. So that is what these are from. And I am considering offering this as a class on Zoom. But if you could do me a favor, and if that sounds like something that any of you might be interested in, please leave a comment in the comment section after the live is over that you would consider and think that having a class on Zoom. It would be recorded. The recording would be available to anyone that takes the class forever until for some reason, whatever, something in this world takes the video down, but it would always be accessible for anyone that takes the class. So just wanted to know. Leave that comment in the comment. I see that me, says Danielle. But yeah, please leave an additional comment in the comment section after the video is over, not in the chat, so that I will be able to see that and know if there is enough interest to go ahead and offer that as a Zoom class on hand stitching. So that comes to the end of this demonstration. Hopefully, I have inspired some of you to give it a try. Those of you that have been questioning when I do mention that I do the flower garden, the things that people do with English paper piecing, that I hand piece it instead. No need for all the papers and that. Now understand what I am talking about when I say that. But I just had to make you giggle. I know Danielle's always got to be playing with me. And Andrea says that she has to wait for her next SS check before I can renew my membership. Once again, too much month at the end of the money. I understand that, Andrea, totally. And thank you just for letting me know. No worries whatsoever. But yeah, just let me know that and we'll have a talk. So thank you for joining me, everyone. Don't forget, as I have seen some say, give me that thumbs up if you have enjoyed the content in this video. And if you think that there might be somebody that would be interested in seeing this, please, by all means, share the video out. That always helps also. And leaving those comments in the regular comment section after a video is over really helps with our algorithm and to push our videos out. So that's always appreciated. Next time that you will be seeing me is Friday for Stitching in the Cottage. So take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day. And remember, in the meantime, I can keep you in stitches. Bye-bye, everyone. And let me catch that real quick. Joe says I have 2 left hands, but I'm going to rewatch this live. Class would be awesome. Thank you, Joe. And bye-bye.